again! So it's the end of the month and it's time for a new bullet journal. This time it will be a sea-themed bullet journal because I can't wait to go to the seaside. Join me, it's really easy, everything is very simple to paint and I think it will be a lot of fun. Come! Okay, so here's what the fishy planner will look like in the end. Here's the cover with all the fish, and this is my monthly, a very simple layout that works really well for me. I need the space to write everything. And these are the weeklies that I will post next week because it would be way too long if I put it all in one video. Or you couldn't see anything if I sped it up too much. But come back next week and you'll see how they're made. And these are my mood and habit trackers that we'll make together today. For the cover, I just wrote the title of the month July in nice script font and drew a swooping line where I will paint in the fish flock. I thought I was filming from the beginning, but I guess I forgot to press the record button. So you see the title is already written. Sorry about that. But I'm not such a great calligrapher, so you aren't missing anything. Now I'm just painting a bunch of small little fish in different shades of blue. It's easiest to paint a few in the same color at once and then change the shade and paint a few in that tone and so on. It just speeds up the process and also ensures that there are different colored fish all around. The distribution of different shades becomes a bit more natural this way, but you do have to take care not to swipe your hand across the freshly painted fish if you paint them all over, and not just from left to right if you're right-handed and vice versa for the lefties. This is sped up quite a bit, so I warn you, it takes quite a while to paint a big shoal of fish. Yes, I learned the correct term, it's shoal or school of fish. Well, anyway, it takes a long time to paint a lot of fish. For my monthly, I made a simple grid that I like to use. This one in particular is 5 by 5 squares for each day, and the rows with the dates are 1 square wide. I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know and in the comments and I'll try to explain it better. At the top I put the name of the month and here you can see how I paint in the ombre effect. First I color in the whole letter with the lightest color and then I put the darker ones on the top. The mid-tone I put in the middle, what a coincidence, and the darker one at the bottom. Things tend to look better when you put the darker tones at the bottom. That looks more natural as the sunlight makes the top of our visual field brighter and the bottom darker, so we're used to that. Now I'm just painting in the rows for the dates in different shades of blue. Again following the same pattern, the lightest at the top and the darkest at the bottom. And on the right I painted a very simplified shore and the turtle at the bottom that you can see me outlining now in fine liner. It's size 0.3 fine liner if anybody's interested. I first sketch very roughly so that I have the basic shape down, then I outline the bigger shapes and then in the end I finish with the details like the dots on the fins. By the way, if you enjoy what you've seen, let me know by liking or commenting. Now let's paint. I start with the sand in a mix of ochre and raw sienna. As I've mentioned in previous videos, this paper is not watercolor friendly, but that doesn't make me not use watercolors on it, because I just love them too much. I'm repeating the ombre effect so that it goes from the shore to the deepest sea, as in nature. The edges of the sea are brighter colored than the deep sea. I also extended the blue towards the left and in the middle of the grid to unite everything. On the left, I just faded it out. If you're curious which colors I used, I will also list them on my blog, so it's easier for you to prepare the materials. I used cerulean blue at first for the light color, but I ran out of it on the first page, so here I've used diluted turquoise for the shade closest to the shore. And then I just intensified the saturation, that means I used more color and less water in my wash, and added some Prussian blue as well. For the deepest sea, I used indigo blue. When I painted the shore, I went over the sand with the lightest blue so they overlap a bit here and there. Now let's paint the turtle. I put down the base colors first and then adding the shading and dark colors. That ensures that no funky business is going on this thin paper. If I was to mix the colors on the paper without the wash of color first, it wouldn't mix nicely. It's not the same with every paper. Try it out. This is just a small trick that works sometimes for the very smooth and thin paper. For the texture of the shell, I used a technique called dried brushing, where you paint with very little water on the brush. Believe it or not, it can be done with water brush as well. But you have to take care not to press and really paint lightly so the water will not come out of the brush on its own. It's easier done with a normal brush, however. Roughly, just so that I know where to put them. I tend to sketch really loosely, otherwise the inking process is too boring for me. We're all different and some people like to sketch really tightly so that they don't have to think at all in the inking process and they have it as a kind of meditation of sorts. And others don't sketch at all because they can do it all in their head. Well, I'm not there yet. I'm somewhere in between. I still feel more comfortable with a simple sketch, even if it's literally just a bunch of ovals that mark the position of my fish. In the inking, I can add different shapes, tails, and if it wasn't a tracker, I would also add details like fins, eyes, and gills. And I sketched lightly where I want my boxes to be, because the dots always dance before my eyes and it's really hard for me to find where to put the lines without the ruler. So if you have dyslexia or eye problems, it's much easier to sketch with the ruler first. Just mark the first line and you will know the rest. I didn't want to bore you with drawing the grid as anyone can do it. You just literally follow the dots. I then painted in the colors for the fish for the mood tracker. I rarely use the mood tracker because I'm never in the same mood or feeling for the whole day. So this time I chose long fish so that I can color them differently for the morning, afternoon, evening, and so on. Maybe this will work. I think this is more useful if you don't understand the patterns of your emotions or where your emotions are coming from. But to be honest, half the time I make them just because they're so pretty and allow so much creative freedom. I painted the titles in the same ombre effect as before, and I also painted the top of the trackers where I'll put my habits in. I always like this look. Fish with smiley faces, and write the dates into the little fish tails, and my planner is done. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end, and here's a close-up of all the pages, including the week list that you'll see next week. I can hardly wait for the summer vacation to come around. I love the sea and everything related to it, so this theme was perfect. I hope to see you next week for the rest of this bullet journal, when we'll paint all these weeklies because they were a lot of fun and I quite like the end result as well. I hope you do too. These fish shapes are very simple to paint but very versatile in design they can produce, so they're perfect for beginners. Until then, subscribe and have a very nice weekend. Bye bye!